So my boyfriend has a graduate school interview on Monday, and so given that he's been on testosterone for like a week and a half now, and he's kind of gonna have to start practicing soon anyway, we figured it was a good moment to practice shaving. One of the pieces of advice that I give to people who've started testosterone is go ahead and start shaving right away, even if all you have is like that usual really light blonde peach fuzz, because it's gonna help you like learn how to do it without cutting yourself open before you get to the point where you have like thicker facial hair that's gonna tend to promote razor bumps and stuff like that. So I'm going to give you guys some information about what I used to shave. Your mileage may vary depending on the kind of facial hair you have, your skin type, etc., etc. But this is what works well
So
for
this
me.
is the razor that I use. It's a Gillette Mach something or other. Whenever I lose one and need to replace it, I just get the one with the most blades and without anything ridiculous like a vibrating motor or anything, because that just sounds disastrous to me. Although I have some friends who swear by them. You do want to make sure that you have a pretty new blade. Like, really don't use it probably for more than a day or two at a time, especially once you have thicker facial hair coming in, because it just tear your skin up. You want a nice shave gel. I like this one. It works really well with my skin. I have pretty sensitive skin and I'm pretty prone to razor bumps because I have real thick facial hair. So I like this. I recommend it, but you can experiment and see what works best for you. And you're going to want some kind of aftershave, at least the first couple times. You may find that you don't really need it. Kind of, again, varies from one guy to another. I use this stuff. It's the Target house brand. It's pretty cheap, and it works well for me. The other thing you are going to want is the hottest water you can stand. And you're not going to necessarily want to put this directly on your face, although you want pretty warm water for that because it'll help open your pores and soften your hair up a little bit. But you do want the hottest water possible to rinse your razor underneath, because in my experience that helps a lot with getting a smooth shave and not tearing your skin up. Okay, so like I say, you want pretty warm water, and I usually start out by wetting my skin pretty thoroughly. Sometimes I use a washcloth. If I'm in a hurry, sometimes not, but it's probably better to start out that way. So, and like I say, this is just going to help open your pores a little bit. It seems to soften the hair up. Makes the entire process go a little more smoothly. I'm not shaving my whole beard off. If you were doing that, you'd probably want to trim it as close as you could first. And depending on how long it is, you might start with scissors and then work your way down to a trimmer. I'm just going to trim around the edges here. So, next step is shave gel. Different guys have different preferences about shaving soaps, but this is what I like best. And it's always better to use a little too much than too little. This is also why I don't typically wear a shirt when I shave, because I would rather be careful of my skin than be careful of the clothing I'm wearing. And I'm a hairy dude. I get hairs like up here under my eyes, I get them up along my temples, so if there's hair you want to remove, make sure you get shave gel there. Now, I don't know why this works, but it consistently makes a difference for me in the quality of my shave and how well my skin holds up. I like to get my razor good and wet under the hot water. I also like to rinse it quite frequently. If you do this the first time or two and you find that you've missed some hairs, you don't want to go over it a ton of times. You do want to make sure as you're going that you kind of angle your face to stretch out your neck skin so it's taut. Loose skin is going to tend to wrinkle and catch in the razor blade. It's the same as shaving your ankles if you've ever done that. And you will learn as you go kind of what your own skin's tolerance is, how many times you can go back over it before you start to generate razor bumps or otherwise do yourself an injury. But generally, if you have thick, dark facial hair like mine, you're not going to want to go more than a stroke or two without rinsing the razor off. Unless they're tiny little short ones like that sometimes. It's a good idea to budget plenty of time for this. The faster you try to go, the more likely you are to cut yourself, or to drag the razor at an uncomfortable angle. And this area right here, especially like as your voice drops, the longer you're on testosterone and stuff, can be a little bit delicate, because you've kind of got this bump and you've got some little indentations, so just take your time. And what I usually do is to go ahead and shave across my whole neck and then check it out. I've still got some hairs there that I've missed. Got a few over here. So I'm going to go ahead back and put on some more shave gel. Just to be safe. You don't want to walk around with razor burn on your face, I promise. It's even worse than on your neck. Or on your legs. Part of the reason that I tend to use razors with replaceable blades instead of disposables is they're a little heavier, and that's nice when you're still getting the hang of how heavy you want your stroke to be, because you really can just barely touch it to your skin and let the weight of the razor itself do the work for you, which is a good idea. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with my neck. Face, you'll notice again I'm kind of angling my face to get the best tightness of the skin. If I were shaving along my jawline, I would probably need to actually use my hand to stretch it out. But when it's up along my cheekbones and temples like this, I can get away without it, usually. On this side. For my skin, it tends to be best to rinse first with warm water, and then switch to cool water before I put anything on it. But you should experiment and see what works best for you. I hear guys who swear by just stopping with warm water and leaving their pores open. For me, that seems to tend to lead to breakouts. So, I use warm water first, get all the soap off, then cool water, and then a little bit of aftershave. And that seems to be the best balance for me. It doesn't need to be iced cold or anything, just cooler. Now at this point, if I were really in a hurry, I could just walk out and get on with my day. And these days, my skin is usually resilient enough to take it, but especially when I first started shaving regularly, and then when I first started getting thicker facial hair, my skin would not have responded well to that at all. And I still tend to end up a little bit more comfortable if I use an aftershave lotion. They do manufacture these for different skin types, different hair types. There are some that are specifically tailored according to ethnicity. So your best bet is to find, if you can, a guy who has very similar skin and very similar facial hair to yours, and get some feedback about what he uses if you're not sure where to start. And that is it. That is how I shave my face. Okay, so a couple more thoughts about shaving. First of all, if you're near the beginning of your shave ventures, you are probably not shaving around like a large, well-established beard. You are probably instead actually shaving your chin, jawline, and upper lip. Obviously, that's subject somewhat to personal taste, personal aesthetic. I hear some trans guys say that their read is really helped by kind of shaving off all little bits of peach fuzz. For me, it was always more of an aesthetic decision. Like, I remember being in middle school and high school and kind of seeing like the 11 and 12-year-old boys who didn't want to lose their, precious handful of long, black, straggly hairs. And, on the one hand, it is your body, and if, like, holding on to those is the most important thing to you, cool. You do you. For me, I didn't really like that look, so I shaved them off until I was able to grow a little bit more, and then just, periodically would let a little bit grow out, just kind of see how it was doing. Considerations about that are the parts that I shaved on my video are kind of the easiest parts. With your lip, you're going to tend to need to do probably a little more of this number to kind of get the skin stretched taut so it's not wrinkling under the razor blade and then getting caught and cutting or tearing.
Jawline, the toughest thing is just it can be easy, especially if you have a pretty defined jawline, to kind of miss some little hairs up under the bone here, up underneath your ear. And the best advice I have there is just take your time, check back over it, remember that you're going to shave again in a day or two. Um, it can be really easy to like get frustrated with this process and try to rush it, and that is when you end up cutting yourself, irritating your skin, leaving razor burns, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, take it slow, take it easy. If there's a little stray hair that you just can't seem to get, it is okay to go sideways, cautiously, right? You never ever want to shave against the grain. That's a real bad idea. Um, so all of those are kind of considerations. Part two is if you're like me when I was first starting out and you tend to struggle a lot with skin irritation, with razor bumps, number one, it's okay to give yourself a day or two to heal up. And if there are still like visible razor bumps, it's probably a good idea to just resign yourself to having like some little straggly hairs and letting your skin heal for a couple of days. Because they're just going to get worse the more times you go over them. If you can, try and get some warm water on them as often as possible. And when I say warm, I really mean like pretty hot. I mean not hot enough that you're in pain, but maybe hot enough that there's a little bit of discomfort. Because when you get the really awful razor bumps where you've got like a little bit of fluid in there, that can help open up your pores, can help start healing. Um, Part two is I've never found like a lotion that really helped with razor bumps. There's some that say they do, so your mileage may vary. Feel free to experiment. But what did help me a lot was exfoliating, and in particular exfoliating before I shaved. The other thing that helped a lot, I don't have to do it as much anymore, but if you can, if this is a problem for you, try shaving after a long hot shower. The longer you stay in there, the more it's going to tend to soften up the hairs. The more give your skin is going to have, and the easier it's going to be to shave without really doing yourself a bunch of damage. So, as always, experiment, find what works best for you. I'm not like the shaving Bible, but these are the things that have helped me out a little bit along the way. Good luck, and happy shaving.